What a last couple days for the Carolina Hurricanes, as not only did they advance to round two, but they even brought more great news to the Caniacs on Wednesday morning, as they have now signed Taylor Hall for 3 more years. And Canes fans, well, it's good to know that you can get yourself a New Jersey.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers, also the host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a terrific Thursday edition of the pod, as this whole episode is talking about Taylor Hall and his new contract with the Hurricanes, as he's now extended for 3 more years to stay through the 27-28 season. What does it mean for the Canes and for Taylor Hall? Well, there's a lot to go over that could really benefit both sides, and we will get to hear from Taylor Hall in his media availability they had on Wednesday with the Canes and, of course, the other beat writers. But before we jump into all of that, this episode is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Now, like I said, the Carolina Hurricanes on Wednesday morning pretty much came out of nowhere and shocked everyone when just not even a few hours after they won, game 5 in double overtime, almost dang near close to midnight. And next thing you know, it's the next day, not even noon, and dropping a bombshell. They extend Taylor Hall to a 3-year contract worth $9.5 million. And the thing is, the AAV, $3.166 million per season. What an absolute steal for the Hurricanes here. And you love to see it on the Hurricanes side of things. It gives them a lot of flexibility. But also for Taylor Hall, too. Now he's going to be in Carolina for the next 3 seasons through 27-28. And you've probably seen me post on social media or, just talking about the fact in general of, Hall, was on What's Chaos's podcast, and they asked him about, moving around so much and how he was just kind of sick of moving around a lot. And he told the guys on that podcast, I'm kind of tired of switching teams. Me and my wife would love to find a spot and settle down. Hopefully that's Carolina. That's the mindset that you have to have when you join a team at this point in the season, that you're going to be here for a while. You have to invest yourself, and that's what I'm doing. And that's the one thing that really stuck out for me when that first came out, was the fact that he wants to find one team. He's tired of, switching teams. He's 33 years old. He just finished his 15th regular season in the NHL. And it's one of those things where he's been with, Arizona, he's been with Boston, he's been Buffalo, he's, been in Chicago for the last couple seasons. Then he gets traded to Carolina. It's one of those things where you're not used to seeing a first overall pick of his caliber in over 900 NHL games, over 700. He's getting almost up to 800 points. To see a guy who's a first overall pick in 2010 move around so much like he was, and he won an MVP back in 2017-18 with the New Jersey Devils. So it's just you're just not used to seeing him move around so much, but it's also because of the fact that these teams want a guy of his caliber. And I can't really blame him for being like, hey, I'm just tired of moving. I want to stay here. And the fact that he even said, I'm open to the opportunity to hopefully stay in Carolina. He said, him and his wife are open to hopefully staying in Carolina to finish his career. He doesn't want to keep moving around. He wants to stick someplace, finish his career, and that's it. And now he gets to do that with Carolina. He's played in 909 regular season games. You're looking at most likely the 26-27 season was where he's going to hit 1,000 regular season NHL games that he's going to do as a Carolina Hurricane, which is awesome to see. But Just looking at this contract, like I said, it's $3.166 million per season for the next 3 years. He'll be 36 by the time this contract's done at the end of the 27-28 season. That is absolutely fantastic if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, because even with the cap going up, you're adding a veteran like Taylor Hall who could easily slide into your top 6, and someone who you can use on either power play unit. And if you're Taylor Hall, hey, look at that. Now you're going to be on a contender for the next 3 years. And you don't have to be that guy. You don't have to be that guy to lead the team in points or goals or be someone who's going to be a mentor. You just come in and do your job. And that's the one thing I asked Rod Brindamore, earlier this month, where it's like, what has Taylor Hall brought to the locker room? And Rod said it perfectly when you're looking at a guy like Hall, and it just gives you a sensibility of like what he's done for this team. And Rod said he's come in and just fit in. He's not trying to do too much. He's not trying to say, hey, I'm a former MVP of the league. He's come in and said, I'm just trying to fit in and do my part. I think that's actually been the key to it all. And that's basically what you have in Taylor Hall. He's a guy who's come in. He knows his role of, hey, I'm just here to support and do whatever I need to fit in the system. And he's done that perfectly. 9 goals, 18 points in 31 games, 4 power play goals. Basically got the power play rolling for the most part, where you look at the end of the California trip and they scored 5 power play goals in 5 straight games. Like, that goes to show that he was able to unlock the power play, and he helped just Barry Cook and Yemi out too. And yeah, he's an MVP, but Taylor Hall's come in and been like, just let me know what my role is. How can I help this team out? And he started bottom 6th, moved his way up to the top 6, and that's where he's been. He's been basically the second line left winger with just Barry Cook for pretty much the rest of the season, and he's had a lot of time on the power play. Like, you look at his stats, he's at a 14.6% shooting percentage. The last time he played an almost full season of hockey and having over 14 or more percent of shooting was the 17-18 season where he won the MVP with the Devils, and he was exactly 14%. With Carolina in 31 games, he was a 14.6. There's a good opportunity. If you get 12, 13, or 14% out of Taylor Hall next season, a full year in Carolina, you'll gladly take that if you're the Hurricanes. And the thing is, he doesn't have to be that guy. He can just come in and do the job of fitting in with the system well. And I think it's been really great for Taylor Hall too, because he even said, the system that we play, it allows me to play with not a lot of thinking. It allows me just to go out there and hunt pucks and do all the things that I think I'm pretty good at. That's why Carolina wanted to trade for me. They saw that I'm pretty good at playing that way, and it's been really good fit on and off the ice. That really says something to the fact of this system where, yeah, he's still kind of learning as he's going on, but it's not he's got to be in his head, I have to be here in this spot, I have to be here in this spot. It's like, no, it fits his style, because that's what the Hurricanes are. They aren't just, okay, we're going to go load upon superstars like Nashville or Toronto, all these guys. This is a team built on fit. That's why you see guys like Jack Roslovic doing so well earlier this season. Eric Robinson had a career year with the Carolina Hurricanes. That's why you see Logan Staycove fitting in well, because he plays like a Carolina Hurricanes player. And you see Taylor Hall. He's came in and has fit in perfectly well for 31 games. Like I said, 18 points is not bad coming into a Hurricane system that you're not used to, but you fit in well here. And that's something that's been good, is the fact that the Hurricanes are a very good team that is built on fit, and Taylor Hall fits that mold. And now you give him a whole offseason, you give him a training camp, and all next season, his first full season in Carolina, who knows what happens? You could look at a 45, maybe 50-plus season from Taylor Hall. Who really knows? But the fit of him being here, you got a guy who's going to benefit in your top 6, a guy who's going to be a contributor in your power play. You're going to give him a full offseason, a full season, and you got him for 3 years. And you got a former MVP for 3 seasons at a 3.166 contract. That gives you so much flexibility, even with the cap going up. You can still build and make splashes in the offseason. It's a win-win trade for everyone. And that's what you're looking at. And what does that mean even more so for the Hurricanes and Taylor Hall? Well, stick around. We'll talk more about this here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONAHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONAHL for half off your first year. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, you got the Carolina Hurricanes bringing in Taylor Hall next year. He's coming off a $6 million, contract in, his last year of his current deal. He comes in, is not going to be at 3.16. So what does that mean for the Hurricanes moving into next season? Well, if you look at just the overall cap hit for the forwards, at least in terms of that aspect, you're still looking at pretty much outside of Rosovic, Fost, and Robinson, and Jost and Skylar Brendamore, you pretty much have $44.2 million locked up in your forward core next year. And that's including, you've got currently right now, they got Nadeau at $918,000, Blake's $905,000. Then you got Stankoven and Jankowski making $814,000 and $800,000 right there. You got William Carey for $2 million, Jordan Stahl at 2.9 in the second of his, year of going into that third year of his 4-year deal that he got with the Canes. Jordan Martinook is making a tad over $3 million. Just Barry Kokeniemi. You got Taylor Hall for 3.166, and then Seth Jarvis at 7.4, Svechnikov at 7.75, and then Sebastian Aho at 9.75. Like, you have 3 guys making over $7 million or more next season for the Hurricanes. Basically, everyone else is 3, 4, or $2 million or less than $1 million. And that's just your forward core. Then look at the defense. Jacob Slavin kicks into his new contract next year, 6.395. And that's the highest for your entire defense. Is the best defensive defenseman in the NHL, sitting at less than 6.4. Sean Walker's at 3.6. Shane Gostisbehere is at 3.2. Jalen Chatfield is a $3 million deal. And Scott Morrow is making less than $1 million at $916,000. And that's not even, what you're looking at with, an Alexander Nikisha. Like, we know what Alexander Nikisha's contract is. It's gonna be less than $1 million next season as well. And then whoever else you want to bring in. Like I said, you got Scott Moore. Like, you have 6 guys right there. Maybe if you bring back Riley Stillman as your 7th defenseman, or Fensore, whoever you have, that's what you're looking at. And then that's $17.1 million right now, and that's with 5 guys already signed up, and that's not even including the Keeshan's contract. So you're looking at less than $19 million for your entire defense. And then you have $2 million in Pierre Kachekov. So you're going to have so much money open up if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. You're looking very, very well in terms of what your cap hit is going to be overall as a team. And that's what you're looking at. Because right now, you're looking at a current cap space as of April 30th going into May 1st. The Hurricanes are going to have $32.059 million in cap space for the 25-26 season. That is a lot of money to have, and that's not even including the Keeshan's contract. So you're looking at like $31 million and some change going into the offseason, where you have basically all 6 of your defensemen locked in with Morrow, Nikishin, Slavin, Gostisbehere, Walker, and Chatfield. 6 defense done. There's your 6 starters. If you bring in Stillman or Fensore, whoever, that's not going to be a lot either. Probably $1 million or less. So you're looking at $30 million, some change possibly. Then you got to find your goalie. You got to find your 1B to Peter Kachekov. Pierre's making $2 million. I don't think there's going to be a goal. Like, you probably can find a good goaltender. It's not going to you can do whatever you want with that, and then you can still go make that splash move for, let's say, if you want to go get I know Mitch Marner's going to be a UFA. You're going to have, Brock Besser's a UFA, Nikolai Ehlers. Like the Hurricanes can go out and get guys. And I think that's with the Hall contract. You're looking at a guy who's going to be making less than 3.2, fitting into a roster where you're going to have over $30 million available, to where you're pretty much adding a top 6 guy, if you really wanted to, a top 6 scorer, and a tandem goalie, and maybe a 7th defenseman and some possible depth players like a Jost or a Stillman or whoever. Like you're just adding, probably a couple depth guys, a tandem goalie to match with Piotr, and you can bring in a top 6 forward if you want to really balance out the lines of, if you don't, what are you gonna do? Like you have to figure out Jarvis, you got to figure out Svechnikov, you got Hall, you got Jackson Blake, Stankoven, Carrier. Do you bring Robinson back? This is like, I don't envy Eric Tulsky and his staff to figure out how they're going to, if they want to bring in someone from free agency and try to fit them into this roster. Because you got Jankowski locked up next year as well. Stahl's going to be here. Aho, Kakaniemi. So your center core is pretty much locked in for next season too. Like I said, you're adding some depth, adding a tandem goalie, you're adding possibly a top 6 winger. And that's with a lot of money that the Hurricanes are going to get, since the cap is going up so much next year. And that's with the Taylor Hall deal that's coming in. Like, it's such a win-win for the Hurricanes and Taylor Hall, but especially for the Hurricanes, to where you're bringing in a veteran who's been there and done that, who's been on good teams before. Like, he was on the Boston Bruins team that basically broke the record and, of course, had a very not-so-great first round. But he's a former MVP. He's done there. He's been in the playoffs. He's played over 900 games. He's almost to 800 points in his career. And that's 15 seasons, which includes a couple shortened seasons due to injury. But you're adding a veteran that you can easily fill into this lineup that's going to help your veteran core, but just play his game, because he fits in well here. Like I said, you can slide him into the top 6. Heck, you can slide him in the top 9 if you really wanted to. You can pretty much put Taylor Hall anywhere in this lineup, and that's not going to be an issue. And you got, like I said, you got a guy who you can put on your power play. He's got 4 power play goals out of the 9 that he's scored. And already in the playoffs, he already has 3 points in 5 games against the Devils. And that's with them going on to round 2. So you're adding a guy who can do a lot of things. He's a puck hawk. He's going to go and get the puck no matter what zone he's in. He will fit the role that the Hurricanes need. And like I said, you give him a full offseason plus the regular season in Carolina, you're looking pretty dang good if you're the Carolina Hurricanes. And now you're adding that to the locker room with other veterans of Stahl, Martinuk, Slavin, Aho. And he's not, and Rod said, he's not coming in here demanding to be like, oh, I'm going to be a leader of this team. He's like, no, I just want to fit in. And that's what's so great about having a guy like Taylor Hall. He's like, hey, I'm just here to play hockey and do what I can do to help this team out. And that's why the Hurricanes are so good at their pro scouting, that they do their due diligence to go find guys that are going to be good character players and who will fit this system. Like I said back in segment 1, the Hurricanes are a system team. And if you find the right guys, you don't have to have a McDavid or a Draisaitl or, a top-heavy Maple Leafs team. You don't have to go and have like 4 superstars making over $10 million plus. You can get guys who are very, very good hockey players who should be considered stars or superstars, but making less than $10 million. Aho. Jarvis is definitely on his way up there. I think he's definitely a star, borderline superstar at this point for how good he is. But you're making money to where it's like almost like you looking at the Boston Bruins where they have Bergeron and Marchand and all these guys making less than their market value, because they know that, hey, if we give the team a discount, we can go and bring other guys in to build around this team and make it a strong, stacked team. And that's what it is. That's the opportunity that the Hurricanes have, and that's why you have a roster that's built like this, to where you could have over $30 million available, and you don't have that many roster spots to take care of. So that's what you have for the Hurricanes. Like I said, for Taylor Hall, You're on a contender for the next 3 seasons. They've made the playoffs the last 7 seasons. They've won a playoff series in 7 straight years. You're going on a team where you don't have to be the guy. You can just go and play your game. And that's what's so beneficial for Taylor Hall for the Hurricanes, and you just love to see it. So what did Taylor Hall say in his media availability on Wednesday? Well, stick around and we'll listen to that here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your pair controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. How do you game when you're not in front of your main setup, hotel stays, family visits, or even just the bedroom? Fire TV Stick 4K makes it possible to keep playing from almost anywhere. Head to Amazon.com/FireTVLockedOn to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, which is 2nd gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, which is 1st and 2nd gen, and Fire TV Cube, which is the 3rd gen. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said, at the end of segment 2, we are going to listen to a little bit of the Taylor Hall media availability that he had with, all the Canes writers on Wednesday afternoon. So without further ado, let's jump into that right now.
Hey, Taylor, when you first kind of got to Carolina, you joked that you were a bit tired of moving around. How important was it for you to get 3 years of term and just have a place where you can really establish yourself as a player for a couple of years?
Yeah, it was a big part of that. Just moving around, and now that I have a family and stuff, it's important to be somewhere where I'm comfortable and this team, right from the moment I got here, they made me feel comfortable. The coaching staff pushed me, and the guys in the room have been just incredible at making me feel welcome and making me feel like this is a place that I want to be. So feel very fortunate to be a Hurricane, and I can't wait for what the future holds for us.
Big thank you to Taylor Hall and the Carolina Hurricanes for that. If you want to hear the full thing, you can go to Canes PR. It's over 11 minutes, a lot of great stuff. But you kind of heard it there at the beginning when Ryan Henkel from the Hockey News asked Taylor Hall the question of, hey, you are looking to try to find a place to stay to finish your career. You got that deal with the Hurricanes or theories, and you heard from Taylor Hall himself. It's just it worked out to where he's going to basically, know where he's at for the next year. He's got a family. He's got to think about that. And just for the fact that the team welcomed him in so much, that's what really stood out to him. And that's kind of what I talked about earlier in the episode is just that's what's so great about this team. The fact that it starts from Rod Brindamore and the coaches, goes down to the leadership group of the Jordans, Slavin, and Aho to welcome a guy in. It's rather not if you're a rookie or a veteran. This team will welcome pretty much anyone in. And that's what you always hear when guys come into this locker room is the fact that this is a tight-knit group. It's like you basically kind of check your ego at the door, and it's all about helping the team out. It's like as long as you're coming in, buying into the system that Rob wants you to play, you play that game, you pull on the same rope, it goes a long way. And I think that's something to where that's why you see a guy like Taylor Hall be like, yeah, this team welcomed me in. It's made it easier for me on and off the ice. I got a family I got to think about. And instead of having to get apartments and pack up and move every so often, now it's like, okay, he is locked into 3 years to stay in Raleigh. And everyone else, how great Raleigh is. I mean, you got the Slavins who live there full time. You got, Jalen Sheffin and his family are pretty much there almost all the time now. You have a lot of alumni who are still there. Shane Willis, Justin Williams, Cam Ward, like a lot. And, there's a lot of former alumni who are there full time now because they love the area and the fact that the area has grown. So now you have, Taylor Hall and his family, they're going to stay there a long time too. And that's what's so great about this deal. And that's what's so great about this team is the fact that it's a family. It's something that really makes you proud to be a Hurricanes fan, and knowing that this organization is class from top to bottom, where they take care of everyone. And that's where you see a Hurricanes team that can add players like Hall. And they're like, I want to be here. And the fact that it was a contract where you're going from $6 million that he had on his last contract for 4 years to a 3-year deal where he's making $3.166 million. Like that's almost cutting his contract in half, but he's giving him an extra $166 million off of that. And now you have contracts like, Martinuk's at like $3,050,000. Jalen Chatfield's $3 million. Now you're going to have Hull at 3.166. Like I said, Walker and Gostisbehere are like 3.5 and 3.2. Like you're having a lot of these deals that are under $4 million, and it's a lot of guys who've been here in the league for a while that pull in the same system because they know their roles and they're going to play that system that how the Hurricanes are asking them to play that. That's why it goes such a long way, and that's why it's so great to have a guy like a veteran presence like Taylor Hall in your locker rooms. The fact that he can be someone who can just go and do his thing and not have to think and just do his job and fit his role. Top 9, top 6, power play, whatever they need him to do, he's going to be there. Like he throws the body, he can make the key plays, he can score goals when necessary. That's just what this type of contract is, and that's why it's so exciting, and that's why it's such a win for not just Carolina, because you're saving money to still build around and make some splash moves in the offseason with the cap going up. But it's a win for Taylor Hall. Like he wanted to finish his career somewhere where he's not moving around a lot. He said he hopes it's Carolina, and now he gets to live that reality of he's a Hurricane for 3 more seasons. It's funny because you look back at the episode right on the night where that trade broke for that 3-way trade between Colorado, Chicago, and Carolina. Taylor Hall starts this whole deal off. Then you talk about Mikko Rantanen, and that's kind of like the major piece of the whole story. And Hall's he was the afterthought. He was the guy who was just, initiated the deal, essentially, of the talks of, all the Hurricanes are going to make a move. And then that whole saga with Rantanen happens. And then the one guy who stays out of that entire multi-team trade saga is Hall. And you go from January into end of April. You're talking like 3 months and a few days. And Hall's the guy you have, and Hall is the guy you extend. And you didn't give Rantanen $12 million, but you give a guy like Hall 3.166, and he fits the system. I think that's something that it's so underrated. I think that needs to be talked more of why you look at the Carolina Hurricanes and be like, how does these things work out? Because they find guys who fit the system. If you find guys who fit the system, you can have a whole squad of guys that pull in the same direction. Good things happen. I mean, look at the 1980 U.S. Olympic team. All amateurs, but they all bought into the system and all pulled in the same direction. That's what the Hurricanes are. They're a team that's going to pull in the same direction and fit the system. And that's why you add a guy like Hall to that. You added another veteran, a former MVP, a first overall pick, who's going to help you next season and the next 2 seasons after that. And he's helping you right now, too. So if you're a Hurricanes fan, you got to be excited for this. Taylor Hall, you got to be excited for this. I mean, obviously, because he's staying in Carolina. If you're the Hurricanes, you're definitely excited for this because you just kept him for less than 3.2 for 3 more seasons. If I have to grade this contract of the Hurricanes, just give Taylor Hall A+. Done. 10 out of 10, no notes. Fantastic. You love it. You can take it to the bank. I am excited to see the rest of the playoff goes because we know the Hurricanes are going to be facing off in round 2, but that will be a Friday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. So need to stick around for that. But in terms of this for Taylor Hall, you love to see it. It's fantastic. And I'm excited to see how the rest of this playoff goes and then how the next 3 season goes with Taylor Hall as a Carolina Hurricane. But guys, that will be a Thursday episode of Locked On Hurricane. Making your first listen of the day. For your second, you want to check out April Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneSureZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin, where I do have links in my bio where you can find all of my articles, especially for the Carolina Hurricanes, at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my other podcasts, well, it's the Surge Cast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, well, you can find it on Google, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review, because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, well, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up, tell me if you like the show as well. Share with all other Canucks to become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Enjoy your Thursday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.